January 3rd, 2015 was the day I chose to wear the hijab. And I'm going to talk about what my thought process was, how I evolved, what opportunities came while wearing the hijab, and to finally get the answer of if I regret wearing the hijab. But you have to stick around to the video to find out. So if you're already here, might as well just subscribe, join me on this journey, because I really want this career. And if you have any questions already, leave it in the comments below. But let's talk about it. Once upon a time as a kid, I was always the athlete. I was always the kid running around in any sport that I'm doing. I loved basketball. I loved soccer. I loved football. I loved playing sports, and I will forever continue to play sports, which was my first and main concern, that if I wear the hijab, it's going to be an interference of me playing sports. It's going to get too hot. The hijab's going to get in the way. Those were actually like my top two, because I want to wear things freely. That way it doesn't get annoying when I wear it. And growing up, that's what I did most of the time. Until January 3rd, 2015, when I turned 20 years old. This is my very first picture I posted on Instagram on January 6th, 2015. Basically, what happened is when I transferred from a community college to university, I just decided that because it's kind of like a new fresh start, nobody knows me, I just wanted to just make that decision to wear the hijab. It's not really any epiphany moment. It's not a turnaround point. It's just like, oh, this is probably a good time. And I surprised my mom and I made a surprise party, and it was a really good time. But this was the first picture I've ever posted. And so I had to start coming up with ideas of what to wear. And at that time, I was taking like a gymnastics class, which was like a tumbling class. And my very first video I've ever posted was this.
It's gotten a lot better, because a few days ago I couldn't walk.
Yeah, if you couldn't do anything right now, I'd be very scared, but that's a good sign. This trampoline actually, it's less
I was very much the nerd. But this dated January 20th, 2015. And the caption being hijabi doesn't stop me from doing what I love. This is honestly the beginning of a future that I probably would have never guessed. Like ever. And so while I was doing my thing, my outfits was definitely not the vibe. It was sweats from Target, a random shirt, and I don't know. It's just like not the vibe. It didn't really suit what I was going to wear in the future. But this was just the start. By the beginning of the year, when I went back to karate, I started karate when I was 12 years old, before I wore the hijab. And that year, when I chose to wear it, we were on winter break. So nobody knew I decided to wear the hijab yet. And the day I came back and gave Sensei my attendance passport that we all do, I gave him my passport. He marks my attendance and looks up at me while wearing the hijab, freshly new, and says casually, "Happy New Year." No questions. Same old Sara as he thought. Just like all my other friends in karate. Especially my friend James. He's like, dude, you're the same old you. You could do whatever you want. But I know you'll still be you. And that honestly was so reassuring, that friends can accept you no matter what you choose to do. And I was so blessed that I was surrounded by people like this. But at the same year is when I also started parkour. This is the very first clip I have ever posted doing parkour. As a hijabi, as the only girl pretty much in this gym right now, being a badass. That's all I could say. This was my home. This gym, Tempest Free Running. This is where I shaped my personality, in this gym. And I will forever be thankful for the people at Tempest for having a welcoming space and community, and for giving me the opportunity to learn parkour. This was honestly the beginning of something very huge that I did not even see. And as time progressed, I just, kept doing parkour lines. This shaped up to be my account. It just started to becoming more and more parkour. And I think this was the very first time I've ever taken things outside. And I don't know what honestly came over me to jump on rails, literally, but I'll take it. But the thing is, I eventually started finding my own style in dressing when it comes to parkour as well. When it comes to just being an athlete, but this is me just discovering myself throughout throughout the 8 years that I've been in the game. And so as you can see, we started with the little girl, not too little, but she's a 20-year-old. She's a 20-year-old with sweats from Target to just buying and upgrading my wardrobe. I even bought Tempest clothes. This was the first time me doing descents. Tempest clothes, parkour clothes. It's just it started shaping up to what kind of style that I will be wearing. Basically, most of it was just tank tops and long sleeves under it, which was fine because it was getting pretty hot. And I'm like, okay, I gotta find some alternatives here. Sometimes shirts with hoodies. We're not gonna talk about progressions. We can talk about progressions later. The thing I do want to talk about next is my confidence in who I am becoming. So the very next year, 2016, I competed in an international tournament in Japan. And I was the only hijabi out of the 1,200 people competing. Meeting my grandmaster for the first time 6 years ago in 2016. Well, now 7 years ago. This was honestly a very magical time for me because visiting Japan for the first time, being more confident in the hijab that I'm wearing, in the skin that I am in, and not caring what anybody thinks, and then also being in a community where you are welcomed. Guys, I think that is pretty wild. Because for one thing, at one point, I don't see a lot of Muslim women in general compete in sports, let alone Muslim hijabi women, at least in my community who compete in sports. I can confidently say there's probably like less than 5 people I can count on my fingers who are probably involved in a sports activity. Even my age, even the kids younger. It's just culture. And it'd be nice to change the narrative, to be honest. I definitely was not supported in the beginning to do the sport. I was not. My parents in the beginning was like, yo, like this is definitely a man's sport. You should probably stop. I'm also blessed that I'm living in a nation where you can freely express yourself. You can freely practice your religion. You can visit any gym, any activity center that you want and join it without being judged. Granted, there's people all over, but you can't control that. But the thing that you can control is making your own choices. And that's what I continue to do. Some of the struggles that I had to deal with was, of course, like I mentioned, with my parents. But of course, comments on Instagram. I've gotten comments on Instagram saying, oh, she's probably training for ISIS, which was a long time ago. I've gotten comments on hijab of how men are telling me I'm not wearing it correctly, which is the biggest nuisance of all because, again, men don't wear the hijab. They shouldn't really get into any of the women's business. It really shouldn't be bothering them. But my thing is, there's always men out there who is ready to put the woman down because, one thing, they probably don't believe that women should be doing any sports. Women should stay inside. I've learned not to care. And you have to. It shouldn't affect you. Because if it does, you're the one eventually is going to be affected. Your life is going to be affected. These guys are going to keep living their lives. They're always going to comment something on social media to other women. They don't care what happens to you. They don't care about your feelings. They'll never even meet you. And that's what I had to learn. Sometimes I do reply back, but trust me, my skin got so thick because of people like them. But it is still a struggle. It will forever be a struggle because there's always going to be someone out there putting a stupid comment on your posts. And even till today, I'm a hijabi doing my sport, there's still going to be comments today, regardless the case. So from 2015 all the way till today, 30,000 followers later, doing just for the love of content. But the question people ask, do I regret making the choice of wearing the hijab? And that question is definitely a valid question. Do I miss flaunting my hair in the wind? Yes. Do I miss wearing short sleeves? Yes. I'm a human being. Of course I can miss that. I can't not. I mean, every time I get the opportunity to come back home, I take it off because it feels nice. Wearing the hijab all the time is very difficult. Absolutely. I'm not going to sugarcoat it whatsoever. But the thing that separated me from everybody else, for one thing, is my confidence, is my choice. I don't regret it. I don't regret wearing the hijab. Once you make a choice, you have to move forward with it. You cannot look back on it because this is what you chose. This is the life that you chose. Period. If you regret it, then you're just going to live your life negatively. I'll be honest with you. And it's sad. Don't do that. But I am a human being, and I am allowed to miss things that I used to do. Like I said, I was always an athlete when I was a kid. It's hard finding the right clothes as a hijabi while doing your sport. Swimming is the number one problem, to be honest. But you find it. I found it. So nothing can really, in conclusion, stand in your way. The only person standing in your way is you. Once you yourself steps aside and accepts the situation or makes the choice of wearing the hijab or decides not to wear the hijab but always has that thought lingering, I don't know. Your life will either turn for the better or will always stay in regret and think negatively. But again, it's the choice that you decide to make. It still shocks me how many people are so accepting in this world. I stream and people watch. I train parkour and people accept me in their community. I post stuff on Instagram and TikTok and shorts. People are liking and sharing my content. And I'm thinking, it's not me on the outside, me portraying my personality from the inside, essentially. And that's what people care about, human beings, connections. And going through this after 8 years, I am very proud of the person that I have become and the person I will continue to strive to be. And honestly, sometimes being the only hijabi in the game is the coolest shit ever. I'll be honest with you. But maybe one day there'll be a bunch of hijabis out there doing their thing. But in the meantime, I'll continue to do my own thing and to be the role model for other potential hijabi girls who want a game, who want to play sports, who want to travel on their own. And eventually, of course, my parents were very accepting in what I chose to do. They respect it. One last note, if you don't respect yourself wearing the hijab, then don't expect others to respect it. Period. So be confident in yourself. And if you have come across this video coincidentally around the same time of you thinking about wearing the hijab, then probably this is the video that can help you out. I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to talk. I love having conversation. But the whole thing is accept yourself, love yourself, and make sure to know why you're wearing the hijab. And if you still don't know, then the answer is for God, for Allah, not for anybody else. And that's that. Here's to 10 years. We'll see where this goes. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.